Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with an Ashe supplementary guide, and today we're going to be taking a look specifically at on-hit Ashe, as you guys can see. So I think on-hit Ashe is actually pretty decent if you're against a pretty tanky enemy team comp, as you guys will see later on in the gameplay. But before we get to the gameplay, let's talk about the build straight away. Now, strangely enough, the top Ashe player actually is building somewhat on hit. I mean, the person does have Bork into Runans and Triforce, but then has two random crit items at the back. I'm not sure about that one because Collector last item doesn't seem to make any sense. But anyways, let's take a look at our build. So, in this particular case, we're actually going to start off with the Gluttonous Grease, so the early AD and the Omnivamp. Now, although Ashe does very well with attack speed boots, literally all of our items give attack speed, and we also have an attack speed rune, so I don't think we need attack speed boots. Of course, it's useful for lane and before you reach your first item, but in the grand scheme of things, Gluttonous Grease is going to help you more throughout the game compared to attack speed boots. So, Terminus first item, AD attack speed, on-hit magic damage, as well as stacking resistances and stacking penetrations. And then we of course go into Runans, which allows you to attack 3 people simultaneously, proccing your on-hit onto all 3 people, as well as of course applying the slow onto all 3 people as well. And then classic on-hit item is going to be your Bork. Same thing, attack speed and attack damage for stats. We have physical vamp, and of course you get the on-hit current health damage, which is what makes it really good against tanks. You also get the drain passive for the little bit of burst damage against both the tanks and the squishies technically, but works very well against squishies in particular because it does kind of flat damage. So then you like to go into Triforce, and the reason why Triforce is a really good item for Ashe is because you get again 30% attack speed, which is really decent, 250 max health to make you a little bit tankier. You also get 25 ability haste, which helps you out a lot in terms of spamming your W a little bit more, as well as your ult. Of course, your Q cooldown already very low, it's not very useful for that, and you also get a little bit of movement speed, and the Spellblade passive is always helpful as well. Now, last item, something defensive. Now, if you're against magic damage, Wits End of course works very well, giving you even more attack speed and more on-hit damage. But otherwise, you could also go for a Maw if you want more AD instead, or you could also go for, something like a GA if you need that as well. Now, for the runes, it's a standard ADC loadout, and for the spells, it's Flash together with Ghost. I think Ghost works very well on Ashe because with the slows from your passive, you can use the Ghost to kind of chase people down or kite them out depending on what you want to do. But with all that covered, now let's jump into taking a look at the gameplay. Okay, so let's take a look at the gameplay as promised. Now, the main time you really want to go for on-hit Ashe, since crit Ashe is generally better, is only when the enemy team has a couple of tanky characters that you can kite. So in this particular game, I would say Garen and Swain are really easy to kite. They are very low range champions with basically no dash. Now Shyvana is a little bit more of a gray area. Of course, she can dash with her ulti, so it's a bit hard to kite her if she can ult on top of you, but if she ults already, she is pretty okay to kite. Like, she does have a movement speed boost with her W, however, she is still pretty alright in terms of, actually kiting her, right? No real issue there. So, here, we are up against a Jinx and a Swain, of course, so, again, 3 pretty kiteable people, so really good for on-hit Ashe. And also, generally, if they're kiteable, it kind of means that they're tanky, right? So really, you, of course, have a on-hit build, which is really good against tanks, especially with the Bork. And, yeah, generally, if they're kiteable, it probably means they're tanky, right? So, like, Darius, people like Darius, Garen, of course, the people you can see here, like Swain, to some extent, Galio as well, even though he has a dash. Sometimes, even if you have one dash, it still works out pretty well. Right, so the only, of course, not very kiteable people are, of course, Jinx and Lux, who have pretty high range. Speaking of Jinx, you can see this is the new Jinx supervillain skin, and this is actually I believe this is the most expensive form, the Doombringer supervillain Jinx. So someone has spent hundreds of dollars getting that skin, and I guess we get to see what it looks like, because I'm not spending that kind of dough on a skin. Pretty interesting though, because you can see that it does have a special mana bar. Like, I was wondering what that was, and then I realized that it was a mana bar, so that's pretty interesting, all things considered. So here we're basically just poking them out, of course, using our range. Of course, it's really easy to poke Swain out. The moment he doesn't have his pull, really easy to just go on top of him. And of course, Jinx does have a rocket form for actual range, so that is a little bit more of a challenge, which is why we're actually trading pretty evenly in terms of autos, right? Because Jinx can just switch over to rocket form and auto us, whereas we have really high base range to just auto her. So we are trading back and forth a little bit, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much because we've just gotten a reset, and they're gonna push out this wave, and they're probably gonna get a reset as well. So kind of the early trades don't really matter in that sense, since no one is actually going to die. One thing about Ashe that I love is that most people actually underestimate Ashe, right? She doesn't do the most damage, yes, but the slow is actually kind of toxic in my opinion. Like, if you don't take into account the slow, you can kind of be surprised by how much the slow is, and how, like, if you have enough runway, Ashe can literally just run you down with her slows and or force a flash, right? So if you're not experienced at playing against Ashe, you can run into some difficulties in terms of fighting her. So sometimes that does kind of work to my favor. Or sometimes it even works against me, because sometimes the enemy Ashe, kind of catches me out of position, and that could be a little bit of an issue. So here we're of course taking some more trades, and although we're trading a lot of autos, you can see all of us are still at pretty high health, so nothing too much is really going to happen. We have a Sona here, not the best early game champion, but will be a lot more useful in the later stages of the game. Now here you can see Swain steps up to launch the claw again, the E, and the moment he misses it, we can launch a couple of autos in his direction, like so. You can see we're just taking a good chunk of his health away. Now Ashe came over for a roam, but I'm not quite sure what he was going for. He doesn't have ult, and didn't push out his wave first, so that was not the best roam by Ashe. So anyways, we're just gonna get back to it. Shyvana, you can see, is making her way down here, but Viego is on the crux, so he's also really nearby. Lux is now making her way down as well, so it's going to be a 4v3 if Viego actually joins us, so it's time to back away. No real point, really contesting the wave or anything when there's like 4 people there. We're just going to back, we're just going to get a recurve bow, and it appears that the Jinx and the Swain have backed as well, because the wave is now neutral in the middle of the lane. Of course, being sure to send out your hawk shots every now and again just to check on the situation. You can see Shyvana here just cleared her blue side and is recalling, so from that we can infer that she's likely to go over and farm the red side of her jungle and probably go top. So most likely we will be untouched for the next while, but just to be safe, we're just going to put a ward down as well, taking a auto from Jinx along the way. Now Jinx here has anti-heal. I don't think Sona is really a champion you need to be anti-heal for. If anything, the shielding from Sona is way worse than the healing, in my opinion. But here Lux is in the bot lane again, while Ashe has roamed to the top lane. Now here they try to go for a dive, but you can't really dive a Ashe and a Sona who has ult. In fact, we actually messed it up because Sona and I ulted at the same time, so we actually, instead of layering our CC, we kind of overlapped the CC like completely, right? We both ulted the Swain at the same time, so Swain could have been double CC there if we had coordinated properly, but of course this is solo queue, so we cannot really coordinate with our support very well. And furthermore, the Shen even ulted us to make sure that we didn't die for the extra shield and the extra manpower, but I don't even think we necessarily needed the ult. But regardless, I'm grateful for Shen actually paying attention and actually trying to help us. But yeah, so yeah, you definitely do not want to be diving a Ashe and a Sona when they have ult, right? That's just asking to die, right? It's just gonna tank the tower, and it's such a low level. It's gonna spell your demise, right? And when you're at higher levels and you're actually tanky, it's actually gonna be fine. But at such a low level, yeah, you can't be tanking the tower like that. Anyways, so far it's not been too exciting. We don't have any exciting cross-map ults, or we don't have a lot of exciting plays. A lot of movement though. You have seen Viego come by, you have seen Shyvana come by, and the roams from the mid lane as well. Shen came over with the ult. So there is some action happening, but not the most interesting in the world so far. Viego has taken the Herald. Shyvana is going to be taking the Dragon with her literal entire team. And yeah, in the meantime, we get the shove in with the wave. And of course, it's really hard to do anything more. With that, Viego gets the first tower. Now Swain stepping up to get poked, as you guys can see here. Swain misses his E once again, but this time backs off. Sona gets off a little bit of poke, gets an ult off, and Swain is now trying to run us down. And I realize why now, because Shyvana is there. However, we can still flash and ghost away. We still have ulti to finish off the Swain. Shyvana is now in trouble. Shen ult is coming in. Jinx is now in trouble. Although I'm really low, I know Jinx doesn't have ult anymore, and I'm just using max range to just get the slows down. Here, once again, I'm just max range DPSing the Garen, but I don't think we're going to be killing Garen when he's under his tower. So we do get the kill onto the Swain, and then we help out our team. Help out Viego with the kill on Shyvana, and then we just do what we can, and then we just base, right? We don't want to really stay there at such low HP, because getting hit by anything from Lux is probably going to kill us there, and we obviously don't want that. Now the fight still continues, by the way. Garen and Lux are still playing pretty aggressively against the low HP Shen as well as Sona. Now somehow Sona actually doesn't die there even though she got rooted, because no one is actually close enough to do the damage. Now Shen, kind of same deal, almost dies, is 1 HP. Now Jinx Rocket comes through and is going to murder the Shen. Also, amazing rocket animation, by the way. I mean, I guess if we spend a couple $100 on a skin, the animations had better be good, but pretty good rocket animation there from the Jinx. Like, the explosion had a pretty big effect. Well, anyways, back to basically just farming. Looks like they're actually roaming either for the Skull Crab or roaming to mid. Either which way, this gives us the ability to push the wave basically for free. And Lux is here once again, making another roam. So it doesn't hit her spells. We're just going to use our range to just kind of poke them down. Swain finally hits his first, I believe that's his first root that he actually hit on me. I try to launch the arrow. It actually hits Swain, which is the least valuable target. However, with the Ashe coming in for the roam and the ulti as well, we're able to take down multiple people, all together, Shyvana, Jinx, and Swain as well. So overall, that ended up being pretty successful, even though it didn't really start off that way. The Sona ult was kind of awkward in my opinion. Like, I didn't really expect it, so I tried to chain CC with her, but the chain CC didn't quite work out on the two valuable targets of Lux and Jinx, but instead it hit the Swain instead, which I guess, you know, a kill is a kill. But yeah, we're at 2 kills, 4 assists right now, building towards our Runan's Hurricane. Now, I really think Ashe is kind of the kind of champion where you get like maybe 2 items, you kind of become semi-useful. Of course, every item onwards is going to be more useful after that. I don't really think Ashe is like a 3-item ADC typically, but I don't think you kind of need the Runan's Hurricane. Runan's Hurricane gives a lot of value to Ashe, being able to slow down your targets that you want. So here is the kind of awkward thing where basically myself and Ashe are constantly trying to farm, right? I mean, Ashe, I guess, is just trying to stack it up, and me as an ADC, I'm just trying to look for farm wherever just to get more gold to get my items. And basically the entire rest of the game is like me and Ashe just fighting for farm everywhere, right? So yeah, like, I don't want to give him the farm, he doesn't want to give me the farm, and we're just fighting for farm everywhere we go. I mean, that wave he did give me, which I really appreciate, but here you can see Shyvana goes in, but she already used her jump, so a lot of the threat is taken out, but Swain hits an insane 3-man root. However, there is basically very little fallout. Very good Sona out as well to zone the rest of the enemy team away, and now we're just basically slowly kiting them out. Now here is a very fat Garen, right? So we're trying to take out that very fat Garen. I managed to ult him in between everybody. However, the moment I kill him, I get rooted by the Lux, and we do end up going down. Jinx gets the reset and tries to run down my teammates. However, she dies before she can really get the kill on anybody. So a little bit unfortunate for her. And yeah, Ashe goes straight back to farming, as I would as well. Goes for the next couple of waves. It's completely out of mana though, so it's gonna have some trouble farming. You can see he can't even cast his Q because he has no more farm. Not no more farm, no more mana. And now I've respawned, so since he has gone to bot, this allows me to then go to mid to pick up the mid farm. Now ideally is, we want to go to different lanes so that we don't have to fight each other for the farm. There's farm in all 3 lanes, so ideally we can take farm from different lanes. which is what we're doing here. And he is still bot taking the waves there, so I'm gonna assume he took the fruit or something. So yeah, now we've gotten our second item, we're 3, 1, and 6 with the Runans. And of course, now in fights, we're going to be a lot more useful, being able to DPS 3 people at the same time, as well as, of course, applying the on-hit, applying the slow. And here you can see I ping for Baron, because you can see that I just pinged that 4 people, sorry, are bot lane, including the enemy jungler. You can see that they have a ward here, but it really doesn't matter, because I don't see any way that they can get this Baron, aside from the last person that we can't see stealing it, but that's very unlikely. So we basically get the Baron, but we trade it for basically like 2 towers, I believe. I believe they got 2 towers in bot. But I think that's a fine trade because with Baron, you technically should be able to take down one or 2 towers at the minimum. Although with first Baron, that's a little bit different because first Baron, the duration is actually shorter. So it may not necessarily be the case. So actually, in hindsight, maybe getting like 2 towers might even be better than getting Baron. But either which way, if we can win a fight and get a couple of towers, we definitely are in a winning situation, a winning trade, I guess. So Garen actually goes down to Viego, and Garen is like the most played member of their team. So that's a very huge loss to them. Here my team is pushing down the other lanes. Myself and Sona, we're just trying to keep people occupied in the mid lane so they can't rotate to other lanes to stop my team from pushing. Ashe is doing a fine job of just pushing. 3 people are basically mid. You can see Shyvana is over the wall there as well, or now she's actually under the tower. And Ashe is just 1v1 against the Lux there. Now here, 2-man root comes in. However, I don't really think this is a winning fight for them. So you can see that they try to engage, and it doesn't quite work out. Swain and Shyvana end up dying instead. Yeah. And Viego now goes for the Jinx under tower, gets the double kill. Viego like 11, 1, and 4 at this point. Very, very fed. And here you can see, while waiting for the wave to come, I'm even taking the enemy jungle just to deny them their jungle farm, as well as just getting more farm for myself. Baron minions are coming in, so we're going to try to focus the inhibitor. I think Baron has run out at this point, unfortunately. But you can see we did get the tier 2 in the mid lane, and you can see the minions are taking the tier 2 in the top lane. So at the end of the day, we did get an even trade in terms of towers by getting 2 towers thus far. And now we're going to try to rotate back to the mid lane while they are busy clearing the top wave to just secure this mid lane inhibitor, which we are able to do. It looks like they're trying to look for a fight, which I don't really think is a good idea. Garen ends up going down to Viego once again, who's just incredibly fed. And here you can see I'm just max range hitting people. Now I'm trying to kill this Jinx because she's the last remaining damage dealer on the team other than Lux. I am able to get her, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Now Viego goes in a little bit too deep for Shyvana as well, also making a 1-for-1 trade, which is not very good because Viego just gave like a 1000 gold shutdown to the enemy Lux, which is definitely not ideal. Now during this whole time, Ashe is farming minions and pushing down this tier 2 tower, so he's just getting himself as fed as he can. And at the end of the day, we take like, I believe that's 4 towers with the Baron in total, if you count the subsequent play as well when the Baron had already fallen off. So I think overall, we definitely came out on top of that situation, although Viego and myself did die. And now I have the Bork at this point, and you can kind of see how Ashe, with the range and with the slows, is just putting out a lot of DPS, right? And I think Ashe very, very underrated. It's kind of why she got nerfed like a patch or 2 ago, I believe. And even though we don't have the prettiest KD, I mean 5, 2, and 10 is really decent, right? It's not like Viego's 14, 2, and 4. Although we don't have the best KD, I do think we're doing a ton of damage. And you actually will see in the stats later on that we actually do more damage than Viego by the end of the game, even though Viego is so insanely fed, which really just proves that, Ashe, number 1, can output a lot of damage, even though she is lacking damage compared to other ADCs. But also number 2, itemizing on-hit items when the enemy team is tanky is just very logical, right? Swain, Shyvana, as well as Garen are all building health, so getting the Bork for on-hit health, current health damage is just very useful in terms of dispatching them. So Baron is back up. However, this time the enemy team is actually in the area, so it's not going to be a free one like the last one. Instead, I'm just trying to secure the Skull Crab, which Ashe, as you can see, tried his best to take it. And here basically we're just in the Baron area because if we fight, we're likely to win against the enemy team considering we have a pretty decent goal lead. So if a fight starts like what's happening here, we should be winning the fight. Now I'm trying to actually get to the fight, so the only person I can really hit is Shyvana and Garen who are in the front line. So Shyvana 1 HP, Garen is almost dead. Is dead, and here I catch out the Shyvana with the arrow, who is the jungler of course. Now at this point though, instead of going for the Baron, we've literally killed off the entire enemy team except for the Jinx. So with the wave slowly rolling in the mid lane, just past the midpoint of the mid lane, we should be able to end the game without Jinx being able to stop us. She has no summoner spells, no ult, and no real way of doing anything other than admiring her nice couple $100 skin. And we're just going to end the game. We could even jump on the Jinx if we wanted to and try to kill her as a team. But we're just going to end the game right here. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.